Morning podcasters, Greg Smith, Admin's The Answer. I'm here with Neil Gibbins. Welcome, Neil.
Yeah, good morning, mate.
Owner of the booming Hire a Hubby Gladesville business. Neil, let's get started. I want to take you back to the beginning. You haven't been a Hire a Hubby for your whole life, so what got you in it? Where did you come from, and how did you make that change to start, oh my God, owning your own business?
Yeah, well, it's a bit of an interesting story. I was in a big corporate job in the city, worked in corporate finance for 27 years, and that was great. I enjoyed it. It was a big job, good money, used to travel overseas a lot, and that was fine until my eldest child went to primary school. And I was one of these dads who wanted to go to sports day, and I wanted to be involved with the school, and I couldn't do that in that particular job that I was in. So I then made a big decision about, well, what do I really enjoy doing and how can I get paid for it? Controlling my own diary and working close to home. And the Hire a Hubby franchise was just starting pretty much off at that time, and I thought, that's what I like doing. I'm a country boy, I can fix about just anything. So I bought the franchise that was close to my house, and that meant that I used to say to my wife, if there's anything on at school that you're made aware of, let me know. I put that in my diary first, and my work fitted in around it, and I've been now doing it for 18 years.
Awesome. All right, and now I'm going to bring you back to now. And so it's the first time you're in a small business as an owner, got the L plates on. Some of the things you've learnt now about running a small business.
There's a lot to do. When you're running your own business, there is always something to do. You can't sign off generally you can't sign off at 5 o'clock at night on a Friday and think, I'm not going to think about work until I go back to work at 9 o'clock on Monday morning, like you can when you're an employee. Well, you used to be able to. It's not pretty much like that these days, but now we've got mobile phones and things. But, as a small business owner, there's always something that you need to be doing. And even if you're up to date with all your work, there's other things that you can do in your business to think about marketing and, websites and all that sort of stuff. So it's a never-ending job. You have to be good at it, or need to learn how to switch off and have good time management to say, okay, I'm at work now, and then I'm not at work.
Yeah. We've got a lot to go through, podcasters, but I think some of that may already resonate with some of the listeners now. There may be some head nodding going up and down already out in the audience. Business aside, Neil, during that time, what have you learned about yourself? If you look back during that small business?
I've got a high capacity for work. I can work 24/7, and which is a good thing and a bad thing, because, as I said before, there's always something to do. So you think, well, I've finished that job. Well, what I should be doing next? And certainly in the early years, as I was growing the business, and I was by myself, I didn't have staff, I didn't have any other sort of admin support. You do everything. So, you're working all the time.
Yeah, understand. Cool. So, it's when we talk about running a trades business, it's once you got into it, as you said before, you're doing everything and wearing all the hats, as some people say, both on the tools and off the tools. And as things get busy and you learn from others, you may start to engage others. You're in a handyman business, so you might engage a painter. An electrician might, engage someone else to do some work. I know electricians would engage a plasterer, because the electrician's not interested in fixing a dry wall. He'll bring in a plasterer to do that work. So you must have started, because I know where your business is now, but there was a point where you said, I just can't do all of this anymore. Do you remember a moment in time back then and going, I need to start looking at others to bring in the business, and I've got to start making some phone calls because I'm just burning out?
Yeah. I think that probably that moment was when I engaged my first staff member.
Right.
Because doing everything yourself, anybody who's in a trade knows that a lot of jobs are much easier and more efficient with two people. You hold it and I'll hit it type thing. And certainly in a lot of our sort of jobs, we're not just changing light globes for little old ladies. We do sort of minor construction and jobs where we do need a team on site. So when I engaged my first staff member, that was probably the major turning point, because all of a sudden you've got another 35 to 40 hours a week that you've got to fill up. There's one thing for sure, you're going to be paying this guy to be with you, and unless you are organised to be able to make sure you're earning from them, you can easily go backwards with these sort of guys.
And so admin, an external admin provider, wasn't the first thing you thought of bringing into your business?
No. Well, sort of external admin really didn't exist back in those days.
The good old days.
The good old days, yeah. But, you do need to have particularly control over your diary. One of the things that I still find difficult having staff is, on a Sunday you're thinking, what are the guys going to be doing tomorrow? And you've got to be starting to work so much further out. You can't just sort of make it up as you go along anymore. You've got to be thinking, probably a week or two out to, be quoting jobs in order to have those jobs approved and then booked into the calendar so that the guys have got something to be working on in 10 days' time. We don't have to work much further out than that. We do need to stay a bit flexible because emergency jobs come in, and we work for real estate agents and stratas, and they can drop a job on you today and say, can you get there straight away? Somebody's busted a door in or something like that. So you need that flexibility in your diary. That's okay for me because I'm on the tools as well. I enjoy being on the tools, so I can be the sort of the swing person for that. But I do like to have everybody in the calendar, for the next few days, so I then can relax that knowing that they're doing something that's productive and earning money.
So we often refer to that concept, podcasters, as keeping the sales funnel filling up. So we've all been in that position where there's a heap of work, and you might stop doing some marketing thinking life is just grand at the moment, but all of a sudden that work is then finished, but you haven't kept things up into the sales funnel, and all of a sudden you're scratching your head going, why am I not busy anymore? It's just this continual not roller coaster, but continual cycle of bring work in, get quotes going, do the work, send the invoices, and you just keep rolling through and rolling through.
I know a lot of guys think that doing quotes and paperwork is not productive and it doesn't earn you any money, but it actually does. It's part of doing the job, and whether you like it or not, you've got to do it. Nobody likes doing a quote because you've got to sit down and think, but my perspective is that we almost always work off a quote, unless it's for small jobs with real estates where they can say just go ahead and do it. But even with my very good customers who are been using us for years and would be quite happy for me to just do the work and send them a bill, I still don't like doing that. I want to be able to tell the customer how much it's going to be before I start, and that way if there's any issues with that or the scope of the work that we're proposing, I find out about it before we start. And by following that discipline pretty much ever since I've started, I've never had a bad debt in 18 years that I didn't cause myself by doing a few silly things. And, we'll talk about that later. But and they were admin-related functions where I lost some money. But going through the discipline of doing a quote means that you've got, first of all, understand exactly what you're doing for the customer and agree with the customer what the outcome's going to be. And then you can go through the process of figuring out what materials do I need and how much is that going to cost. You put those two things together, come up with a number and say, is that a fair price for the work that I'm going to do? I have that agreed with the customer in writing. There's never an issue after you complete the work and you say, okay, well, there's the finished job, pay me the money.
So the overall message in some respects is there's a lot of admin to do to run a successful business, and it doesn't matter whether you're a handyman talking to you today or an electrician, plumber, landscaper, window washer, it doesn't matter. Quotes need to be processed, invoices need to be processed. And listen, I know when I was a tradie, it wasn't the most desirable place to be. And I never sent out invoices the day a job was completed, but I do it now for our clients, and it can be overwhelming. But yeah, I would rather have a tool belt on at the time rather than a pen in my hand.
Yeah, if you've got a process by using an admin service that allows you to invoice immediately when that warm glow of appreciation from the customer is there, where they're standing and you're showing them the work and they're going, "Oh, you're wonderful, how fantastic is that?" And you can say, "Well, I'll send you the invoice this afternoon." And you can just ring the admin and say, "Please put that invoice," because the quote's already in the system. All they've got to do is change it from a quote to an invoice and send it to the customer. And guess what? Those customers usually pay you straight away.
Yes, see that all the time. So was there a tipping point, Neil, where you were going through you'll take the L plates off your business and you really got the P plates on now and you're a fully fledged business owner, that admin became a consideration to then outsource?
Yeah. Oh, look, as we grew, I went from 1 staff member to 2 staff members, and all of a sudden you are exponentially increasing the amount of admin you've got to do. One of the issues I've got is when the guys do 2 or 3 jobs in a day, and I'm on the tools as well, we might have 7 or 8 jobs that we've completed that day. Some of the smaller things. And that means we've got 7 or 8 invoices that need to be sent out. And whilst if we're working off a quote, that's okay because it's just a matter of a function in the system to do it. But it's, there's an hour or two's worth of work to sit down and do it, wrap up that job properly, send the invoice to the customer, put any hours or actual hours and materials cost into the job so that you can measure the productivity of your team and the profitability of each individual job. To just see how you're going with your quoting, because we spend a lot of time trying to do a quote, but then you've got to spend a little bit of time going back and say, well, were we right? Were we on the money? Did we lose money somewhere because we didn't anticipate something, and what can we learn from that? You can only do that if you do your data properly, but that takes time, and I would rather have somebody else do that for me.
Podcasters, are you invoicing the day a job has been completed? I'll leave that answer up to you. But if the answer is no, well, it should be yes. So before you decided to look into an external admin company to take all of that, I call it noise out of your business, but essential part of your business, it's as important as doing the work. Before you decided to, have a look at who's out there, and did you have any idea what an admin company could potentially provide you?
Not really. I think, in the early days, we just thought you just did it all yourself. I mean, some guys have their partner, their wife, involved doing admin internally, and that's great if that person has got an interest or that skill set to do that. And in a lot of trades businesses, there is a bit of a separation between the on the tools bit and in the office bit. But, it's not always ideal because it's not just a matter of punching the petrol receipts into zero or something like that. Admin is a lot more than just doing that, particularly when you start to look at some of the analysis of what's going on and some of the dashboard information that you've provided to us, that I can see how we're going live, basically, because we're up to date with everything all the time. I can go and have a look at what my turnover is per week, per month. We've got certain goals and targets that we're trying to achieve, and also what our I can measure the effectiveness of some of my staff. I mean, some guys are just by themselves. Well, they'll get that. I've got staff, and I'd like to be able to measure their effectiveness and reward them accordingly.
Understand. Would it be fair to say that what you know of an admin company now does exceed your thoughts from day one when you were thinking about outsourcing admin?
Absolutely. And look, your service is evolving all the time based on feedback from the customers, like myself.
All the time.
We talk a lot about, and I ring you up and say, I'd like to be able to measure something like this. Can you create a report that fits to that? And I think that collective knowledge that you're able to be the central source of that, and then that provides benefit to everybody else who's your customers as well. Because if we come up with a good idea and you think, well, that would be beneficial to everybody else, that shared knowledge is an amazing added value thing that you don't really get. Say if you were using your wife for admin, she's not going to be able to do that.
No, and even Neil's part of a franchise, Podcasters, so there's an advantage to a point where you can have shared knowledge within a franchise, but for those guys who are out there on their own, and it can be a lonely place out there, particularly if you haven't got employees and you're just on your Pat Malone driving around going, I need to earn $1 today, and I can't call anyone for advice, I can't run anything off someone, I don't know where all my money's going. That can be a pretty scary, lonely place to be, but you're supposed to be loving what you do because you're doing the trade that you love to do. And it's a conundrum.
I think that is an extremely important point because, yes, I am part of a franchise and our franchise is very open. We're not in competition to each other, each of our franchisees, and we're all good mates. And we share a lot of information. Where do I buy a black left-handed widget from? Because if you can't buy it from Bunnings, where do you get it from these days?
Right.
That sort of thing. And we do share a lot of information like that to help all of us run our businesses. But, if you're just Neil's handyman service, you're in competition to the guy next door. You're not going to ring him up. And it is a lonely place. And if you've not come from a business background, which most people haven't, you don't even know what you don't know in terms of running a business. And it can get you into a lot of trouble if you don't pay your BAS on time, if you don't do all the things that you've got to do to run a proper business. And that's where an admin service can help you with that and make sure that you're getting all the things right.
I agree. So if we talked about the difference between PreAdmin and PostAdmin, some of the things that your business has seen change since you've outsourced your admin.
Well, PreAdmin, I used to joke that, and I come from a finance background, so I know how to do this stuff.
I should know how to do
all this stuff. But, you're busy and you're working like a madman all day on the tools and you run around seeing customers, you're picking up materials, you're going and doing quotes, you get home, you eat, and then you really feel like you're going to fall asleep. And trying to do quotes at midnight is just diabolical. You're not thinking straight, but you've made a commitment to a customer that you're going to get it to them, or you're feeling guilty that you haven't done it. So what comes first, quotes or invoices? Depends on who's screaming the loudest, or sleep. And you can easily get into that really bad cycle of leaving things till tomorrow. And all that happens is tomorrow there's double. And then the next day there's another pile that comes in and you don't get to it. I used to joke with people, thank God for quarterly BAS, because I would lock myself into my office for a whole weekend and just try to get up to date with my invoicing, my billing and stuff like that. Even just punching petrol receipts into Xero, and at least I was up to date, but only 4 times a year. And that was not good. Now, we are up to date all the time, pretty much, and we're never more than a sort of a day behind on stuff. And I tell you what, it's a great feeling, because I just know that the team behind me is covering my back on stuff, so I can focus on what's important for me to do, the stuff that generates me income and does the interaction with the customers, while the team is out there doing what they're best to do.
Cool. All right. So chalk and cheese.
Oh, mate. But look,
Mini versus Ferrari.
I can understand how people get into that. You see tradie vans, anywhere, and they've got piles of receipts and paperwork.
The dashboard filing cabinet.
The dashboard filing cabinet. And I'm going, mate, you're in a lot of trouble.
Because you were there one day, and I've been there before myself. I had the dashboard trading.
And I pride myself of being pretty bloody organised, but I still had a pile of paperwork.
Personal life. Has admin, you mentioned that from a mindset and a stress point of view, if I can use that word, it's a better place now because you feel more organised and you're not behind all the time, and the pile of work on your home desk isn't building up because you just don't get to it because tomorrow never comes. Is there an effect on your personal life as well as your business performance that you've seen come around because you've now been outsourcing that work?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, talk about before about going home at the end of the night, you have dinner, you play with the kids, and, you know, you really just want to sit down and relax, but you really know that you've got things that you need to do. I don't do anything at night now.
Nice.
You know,
no work-wise anyway.
No work-wise. I mean, there is things that I can do, but there's no great pile there, so there is a little bit of... I can relax a bit, and I can always, you know, catch up on other stuff the next day. The other thing is too, I like travelling, and I travel a lot overseas, and to be able to go away from a business for any extended period of time, if you don't have admin support, is almost impossible.
Right.
Because particularly if you've got staff. I mean, if you're a man in a van, that's okay. Having said that, though, it's hard for those guys who are just working by themselves. If they've got regular customers that are relying on them and they want to take a holiday, how do you do that if you're just by yourself? You know, having admin support, you know, if you are able to take on a staff member, quite often those staff members are not the type of people who can do the admin side as well. And you don't want them to be, because that's not what you hire them for. But if you've got a back office that is supporting your business and allows for the business to continue operating while you're not personally there, you are in a really good space, because you can still be paying the bills, earning money while you're not there, and the admin team are doing the back office part for you.
So were there times pre-admin perhaps, Neil, that either you wanted to take some time off but you just chose not to, and you're a typical small business owner going, well, I just don't have holidays, that's just the world I'm living in now, or perhaps you took a holiday but very nervously, still had the phone in your back pocket, still had the laptop in the boot of your car, I'm still available, so you weren't really on holidays.
Yeah. I did that, you know, and you take your phone with you, and the phone is ringing all the time. You're not on holidays. It's not fair on the family if you're with them. If you say, look, keep quiet, kids, while I just take this call, and I'm booking in Mr. Smith for next week, that sort of thing. I was fortunate being part of a network like I am, and as I said before, we're mates with each other. You know, I had somebody that maybe could babysit my phone while I was away, and we would, and I'd reciprocate when my mate wanted to go on holiday. So we were lucky like that. But if you don't have that, having somebody else manage your phone while you're away, even if it's just on a short-term basis, so you know that the calls are being answered, that your emails are being looked at, that the people are being responded to, any inquiries that are coming in, and you can go away and actually relax. That's gold. That's gold. So Neil's painting a picture of an ideal, but he's also painting a picture of a real life experience, podcasters. I know Neil diverts his phone to us if he goes away. So we're taking his calls. Existing clients are still being attended to. It's no dramas if they hear from us that, Neil's away for a couple of weeks, and so we can book you in for, the first up Monday on his back. Yep, no problem, Greg, that'll be fine. Thanks for letting me know. Is that better? I'm asking you, the audience, is that better than your customer ringing you and they just get a voice message that I'm away, or they don't get any message at all, or you feel like you've got to answer the phone while you're on holidays? So they are scenarios that are worlds apart. One is take your time, you deserve a holiday, so take it, and your family wants you to be with them, not wandering around the caravan park taking a few calls. Well, the thing is too, if you go bush, you can't answer the phone. Because there's a lot of places that we go that there is no phone reception. The other thing too that I learned early on, that people they're busy, they go on holidays, and during that time that you're on holidays, you're not doing anything, including looking at jobs and quoting. And unless you've planned ahead to start booking work in from when you get back from holidays, there's a double whammy effect of you're not earning any money while you're away,
Yep.
but you don't earn any money for the first week or two that you get back, because during that time you're running around looking at jobs and you're quoting them, and there's a lead time before you actually get earning.
Yeah, good point.
So you really got to be planning ahead for taking some time off, and in order to be able to have a job set up for the Monday morning that you're back, that you're straight back into it.
Yep.
You've really only lost that 5 or 10 days that you're away in earning because you weren't doing anything on the tools. But that doesn't mean the business doesn't keep on going. And
Sure.
admin can help with that
Yep.
by booking you in and making sure your diary is full the day that you get back.
Yeah, cool. Well, we've been clients. You've been a client of ours for some time now. So taking back to day one, taking back to present day, what have you learnt about what an admin? We touched base before, and we can produce your special reports. But if we were writing the dialogue now of what admin can provide now versus what you thought it was going to be on day one, what's some of the key items that have come out of that?
Well, the business is not just about me. People don't always expect to get right to the boss of the organisation. It's any business that we call, you will normally get to reception first, and that person can probably help you, or they can refer you to another. So it's almost like having an office yourself, but it's a virtual office, and you only have to pay for what you're using. I have toyed with the idea of having somebody working in my office all day, every day, so that they could do this admin themselves.
Yep.
But it's not cost effective, because I don't have enough to keep somebody fully occupied all day, every day.
Yep.
So being able to pay for just the services that I use is the most cost effective way of doing it. Plus, I don't have to find this person, I don't have to train this person, I don't have to manage this person, is a huge benefit for me.
Yep.
That's your job.
It is my job.
That's what I pay for.
Yeah.
I get quality people. I know that if that person happens to be way sick, you've got coverage for it.
Yep.
And what more do you want? That's the best way of doing it.
Cool. Awesome. Would it be fair to say that, in inverted commas, I should have done this being engaged an admin company to help me out with my business, that I should have done this a long time ago? Does that resonate with you?
Oh, look, absolutely. We've discussed this in the past. I think that, when you start off in any business, you've got to have a taste of this sort of stuff. So you understand what you need to do and what you can outsource, and also what things that you don't like doing or what you're not very good at. And then you understand the value of having somebody else do it for you.
Yeah.
But I think anybody who's listening to this is probably in that right now. They're doing all that sort of stuff, or they're not doing it, and that's the dangerous thing, that they're not doing it.
Yeah, dangerous. Yeah.
Yeah, even more. Yeah, and customers like dealing with with suppliers who are organised, that turn up on time, do a good job, charge a fair price, that sort of stuff. To be able to do that, you do need to have a mechanism behind you to make sure that the quotes are going out by email, properly formatted, that sort of stuff. Having said that, when you say we do quotes, you can't do the quote for me, because I'm the one who's seen the job.
Sure.
And I know what I want to say and how much I want to charge for it. But, it's much better to have somebody who knows how to type it up if you want to do that, and make sure it's properly formatted and sent out the proper way, sort of thing.
And follow it up.
Well, look, the follow-up is
tradies aren't real good at that.
Oh, that's it. I mean, you spend a lot of time doing quotes. Doing the quote is just the first step. If you don't then go and ask for the work, customers get busy. Everybody's too busy, and they forget about it. And we know the statistics show that if you follow up on quotes, half of them on the first follow-up, they'll say, oh yeah, I forgot about to get back to you, that sort of stuff. All you've got to do is asking for the business is a very important thing in any type of business. So, ideally when you're seeing the job for the first time, and basically ask for the business then, if you can.
If you can.
Just doing the quote and sending it to the customer and then sitting back and crossing your fingers that they're going to ring you and say, please come and do it, is not enough. You've got to sell you have to be a salesman if you're a businessman.
Yep.
And the product that you're selling is you and your services.
Yeah, and podcasters, some guys may hear that and go, "Oh, I'm really nervous about asking for business," and that's okay. Some may find that uncomfortable and a bit daunting, but we can then do that for them, and often it's better. Well, the quote needs to be followed up at the end of the day. The analogy I use, podcasters, if you're going to go to a person's house and spend your time, which you're not getting paid for yet, providing a quote to a customer and everything that goes along with that, and you don't follow it up, you might as well go onto your own driveway with $100 bill and burn it. Because that's what you've done. You've spent $100 of your own money. Go and follow it up. We've got stats, as you said. People, sorry, I was going to get back to you. Thanks for calling. Yes, I'd like to proceed.
I think that also a follow-up demonstrates that you want the work. If people get a quote and then they don't hear from you, they think, well, you're obviously too busy. It's not important to you. But if you are following up in good time, you find out whether if that job's going to go ahead or not. And if it's not, then you cross it off your list. And you move on. You move on. I know some of my colleagues have got a list of hundreds of quotes that go back months.
Wow.
That they did the quote, they sent the email, customer never got back to them. They're so busy they've moved on to the next one. And there's probably tens of thousands of dollars worth of work that they could have done. It's too late. You don't feel right following the customer up at this late term.
It's almost embarrassing.
It's embarrassing.
That's a lot of $100 bills that guy's burnt.
Mate, seriously, if you think about what is your time worth, as trades businesses, our product is our time and our knowledge. So your time is a finite resource, and if you're not using it as effectively as you can, you are leaving money on the table. So you want to be able to maximise your billable hours so that every hour that you're working, you're getting a return for it. And if you can maximise that return, at the end of the day, that results in more money in your pocket at the end of the day. If you're burning through your time and not getting any return on it, you won't be making much money. So there's a couple of lessons out of that. Don't do the things that you're not good at. Outsource it to the people who are, that can probably do it cheaper than what your hourly rate is anyway.
100%.
Plus, they're doing it better than you can do. And it's stuff that you don't want to do anyway.
Agreed. Stay on the tools. Keep earning $1.
I'll tell you the other one that's an awkward call is following up money.
Right.
I
love doing that for guys.
You know what? It's much easier to do it on behalf of somebody else. Because, God is on your side when you bring it up on somebody else.
Yes, indeed.
So, because it's not you personally. And, fortunately, we don't have that situation because we are now, on top of everything and have been for quite a long time, that we really don't have any bad debts that we need to chase up, because we are following the process. And that means our cash flow is great. I've got money coming in on a regular basis, because I've definitely got money going out on a regular basis. I've got wages and expenses of admin fees and that sort of thing. In a proper business, the money should be coming in and out in a timely manner, so that at the end of your month, your profit and loss is actually reflecting what your business is doing. And to be able to do that, you need help to make sure that the paperwork's done in the background.
So you get an invoice from us, of course, and I appreciate you paying it. Thank you very much. But do you see the admin service as a cost or perhaps an investment in your business?
Definitely an investment.
Okay,
it's an investment.
Explain that a bit more for us.
Well, look, somebody's got to do it,
right?
And I need to have it done properly. And there's only one way of doing that, is either do it yourself, and it probably wouldn't be done properly if I was doing it myself, because I'm too busy, and it is not best use of my time.
Right.
I'm the business. I want to be out there meeting with the customers, doing the quotes, doing the work. That's what I enjoy doing. I mean, if I'm spending too much time in the office, that takes me away from being able to what actually earns me the money. So I like to think of my business I've got an admin department, and you run that department. You're the department head. You're my head of admin.
Yep.
And Sam is my girl that looks after.
That's my Sam. Yep.
Sam is the staff member of Admin's the Answer that looks after our account. Sam is available to me at any time. And that's very handy as well, because sometimes I'm on the road and I'm driving to a customer's. I can look it up in the system what their telephone number is, but I have to stop. I can just ring Sam up and Sam, can you look up Fred's number, or
even call them,
or
please.
Can you just give them a call, or can you whatever I need. She can do. Now we use that sparingly, but it's so valuable when we do need that. Sometimes you forget what people's addresses are, or whatever. But just to be able to have that person available to you, it comes back to what I was saying before. I could have somebody like that sitting in my office, but I have to pay them all day, every day, and I don't know what they do. But having Sam available to me, very, very valuable.
Yeah, cool. So we talk about maximising billable hours when we talk to tradies, and we have touched on that a little bit just then without using that turn of phrase, but we don't talk what hourly rates are with clients or even in a podcast, but we talk about maximising a client's billable hours. So at the end of the day, if you look at your calendar and say, last month I averaged 6 hours per day actually earning $1. But there's a lot more than 6 hours in a day potentially to earn $1, but guys are too busy doing admin or whatever, running around like a chook with its head cut off. Would it be fair to suggest, Neil, that now that you're more organised because of external admin, that your billable hours opportunities have increased?
Absolutely.
Both for you and your staff.
Oh, absolutely. I think we're running probably almost as efficient as we can get, but we're always tweaking that. And in conjunction with, we have a conversation every now and then of what we could be doing better. And I appreciate that feedback on things that we learn. We're always evolving. The business has evolved a long way from where we started, and it will continue to evolve and become more efficient. The tools now, one of the things that we do, I love technology, so we are as automated as we possibly can. We use things like HubDoc to photograph any receipts, whenever we buy anything, and from petrol through to materials, myself or one of my staff will just photograph that receipt. That automatically flows through to our Xero accounting system. Even with Bunnings, we've got a direct link from Bunnings to our Xero accounting system. So whenever any of my guys buy anything at Bunnings, we don't even have to do anything with that paperwork. We don't even get the paperwork because it comes on the PowerPass app anyway. But that flows directly into our accounting system. Now it's something that we set up with you. That's saved an enormous amount of time. And not only because it takes time just to photograph those things, but it takes time to follow up the ones that don't get photographed. Because people forget, you lose it, and then you've got to go back.
It's on the dashboard.
It's on the dashboard. It's in the dashboard filing system. So, at the end of the month, when you or your bookkeeper or admin are going through it, you're wasting a lot of time trying to find that stuff just to tick all the boxes on stuff.
Understood.
Now, when you add up the value of that lost time, that eats into your billable hours, or it adds an additional cost to your business that doesn't add any value at all. So you've got to use the automated systems as much as possible. We use a full electronic diary, so that no matter where we are, we can see who's where and where we're supposed to be going next. I even personally have in my diary system a link between my personal diary and our work diary, so that if my guys are looking at where I am, if I'm at the school at sports day, that shows up in our work diary as well, so they don't double book me.
And we can't book you for a quote here at that time.
Absolutely.
Podcasters, if all of that HubDoc and financial and taking a photo of your receipts, if all of that sounds Chinese to you, that's okay. don't worry, we can help you out with it, because it was Chinese to all of us before we started a business, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But it's water off a duck's back for us now. We often talk to our clients, Neil, about creating a cost-neutral service.
Yep.
So yes, whilst we will invoice you for our time, we encourage guys to explore ways to actually recoup that admin, so that effectively we don't cost the business any money, but you get all of what we've talked about with your life and personal time and business time back. There's some initiatives that you've learnt whilst you've been with our company to help create that cost-neutral environment.
Yeah, I think I've taken it one step further. I've almost turned you into a profit centre.
Well, even better. Would you like to make money out of employing us guys?
And I'm not being flippant. We actually do. It's part of the process of when we do our quotes, and as I said before, we pretty much always work off a quote.
Yep.
So there are certain components which are the first components to go into a quote when I do it, and one of them is the time to do a quote.
Yep.
So that I actually try and recoup the cost, my time or my staff's time, on how long it has taken us to do that quote, to research a job, to actually sit down and document it, of what you're going to do, how much you need. It's important, but it does. Some of our quotes take a few hours to do, and that is valuable time that should be attached to that job, as is admin. So the next thing after we put in how much time we're doing to do the quote, and when we win that quote, we are actually getting paid for that time.
Right.
That's why it's important. You can do that sort of work during your work day, because you're getting paid for it anyway.
Yeah.
But the next thing that we put in is an admin cost.
Right.
Knowing, and it's a sliding scale. So if it's a small job, we might just put in $10 for it.
Right.
But if it's a bigger job, we might put in $100 for it, knowing that behind the scenes there's going to be a lot more admin from that Sam and your team do on it. Therefore, that's already in the quote. Then we put in materials and time and all that sort of stuff. End up with a number.
Yep.
But I've allowed for the admin cost in there. We record that in there, and there's a report that shows me how much we've recouped.
Yep.
And we're religious in doing that all the time. And when we look at how much we've recovered or recorded at the end of the month, it's usually more than what your bill is.
Cool. But that's the guys might be listening to this, Neil, and going, but that means your quotes are now more expensive than what you had previously quoted, which of course by the raw number would be true. Have you seen any deficiencies in your quote approval because you're now a little bit more expensive than what you were before?
Not at all. Okay. Not at all. And we're able to provide a better service to our clients anyway, because our quotes come out. I've had customers say to me, if your work is as good as your quote, the way your quote's laid out, very professionally done, I know a lot of tradies, they'll just write it on the back of a cigarette packet and here's your quote. Right. The ones that come out from the admin team, professionally presented, all the data on them is correct, no spelling errors, that sort of stuff. That's important to people, because it demonstrates to your potential client or your existing client that you care. And those little things make a difference. So I think, probably it would increase your number of... It's not all about price. And all of us know that people don't necessarily just buy on price. If they are, possibly not a customer that you want to be dealing with anyway. Right. If you're good at what you do, you want to be able to demonstrate to your customer or the potential customer that you are good at what you do. They don't know you at this point in time. All they know is your interaction face to face and the paperwork that they've received from you. So if that can be done in a professional way, big tip. Yeah. So there's a whole other podcast there called Customer Service 101, isn't there? We can talk for another hour on why should a customer choose you. And price, of course, is in the list. But surprising to some, it's not the first one that should be considered. And that's up to the tradie to sell themselves. Yeah. As a powerhouse person in their industry, that if a customer didn't choose them, they're actually doing themselves a disservice by not having that person in their house. Absolutely. And let the numbers be secondary. Of course, we don't charge $10,000 for a $100 job. That's not what we're talking about. But we can charge $5.5
if it was really 5.2.
Yeah.
It's the value of the service.
Well, we all buy things from other providers and shops and things like that.
Yeah.
We all don't just necessarily buy the cheapest thing.
Yeah.
We buy whatever product or service we feel best suits our need and provides, in our perspective, the best value for money.
Yeah.
And value for money doesn't mean it's just the cheapest.
No, not at all. Not at all. I agree. So would you suggest, Neil, that our service at Admin's The Answer is cost effective?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Cool. Would you ever consider going back and doing admin yourself?
Hell no.
Can you just say that again?
Hell no. Nah, look, I mean, I couldn't. I mean, there's not enough hours in the day. We now have grown to a bigger business, and, you know, I would be on it full time.
Yeah.
And that was not what I signed up for.
Yeah, cool. So there's podcasters out there that may still be listening, certainly hope you are. Is there a final message that we might throw their way if they were thinking, or they might have learned about admin from the scratch listening in today, or some may investigated in the past and then got too busy and just put it on the back burner. A message for those who were thinking about, you know, outsourcing admin, what would you say to them?
Give it a try. Give it a try. I mean, certainly you're the way that you operate the business, it's sort of a no risk, no commitment type thing. If you want to give it a try and see if it's going to work for you.
Yeah.
And I think once you got into it, you'd realise, oh, why didn't I do this ages ago?
Right.
And there's a lot more to it than just the paperwork. I know that, you know, some of the communication that you send out to your customer network is extremely valuable in just tips on how to run your business properly. And even about, it's almost like a little bit of business coaching there. What are the goals? You know, we have the statistics available in the system to have a look at what our turnover is, what our profit margins are, that sort of thing. So have you thought about how much you want to be earning? Have you thought about how much it costs to run your business? The things like all of the expenses that go into creating a business. If you don't have a good handle on that, you can be working like a madman and still be going backwards.
Yep.
If you don't identify that early on, that's where people fail.
Yep.
They said, I tried to run my own business, it didn't work out, I went broke. Well, you know, a good business wouldn't go broke, but you do need to have the administration behind you to manage that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Now, if you're a on the tools tradie, a lot of people, you know, all they're looking at is, have I got money in my pocket at the end of the day or not? If I have, I'm making money.
Yeah.
Doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
You do need to be a little bit more serious about it. And if you don't want to do it, get somebody else to do it for you.
To do it for you. Yeah, exactly. All right, Neil, we might wrap it up there. There's been a lot of fantastic information. Thank you. Podcasters, if any of that, you may have taken a few gold nuggets out of that. I certainly have. This has been great. It's good to catch up. I appreciate your time. Podcasters, if you want to reach out and find out more, if you're interested in how this service can be cost neutral or to give you time back or earn more billable hours, then you know where to find us. It's Greg Smith at Admin's The Answer, www.adminstheanswer.com.au. Look us up, send us a message, and let's have a chat, and perhaps you can take your business to where Neil's is right now. Thanks, Neil. Appreciate your time.
Thanks,
and good luck for the future. Cheers.
Thanks, Greg.